allowing me the opportunity to speak today and holding this forum. And the Apple Plan, I know my friends at New York State Allies for Public Education have had some input, and we're really happy that you guys were listening in the Assembly, at least some of the Assembly members and Senate members are listening on this. I'm going to have one more thing in my bio, and people, when they found this out last week, thought I was crazy. I'm running for school board in Springville, too, so try to make a little difference locally. And I encourage parents and educators to get involved because we can make change at the grassroots level, and that's what I'm hoping to do, too, because there's some really good things happening in Springville, and it's a great community, and they really love education, but all this madness that's coming from above is causing problems at the local level, and I'm hoping I can help drive our district forward on that. So I'm going to throw a little curveball at this. I'm going to talk about something that's coming down the road, possibly, but hopefully our elected leaders in Albany will put a stop to this. I was under the assumption we're going to hear a lot today about the Common Core, the details of it, the ineffectiveness of it, and all the problems that are with it. So I'm going to talk about what's coming possibly in the future, and that is the PARCC exams. How many people have heard of the PARCC exams before? Okay, not bad, but maybe 50-50. That's kind of what I expected. It's one of the many new acronyms in education, and it stands for the Partnership, this is a mouthful, Partnership for Assessment for Readiness for College and Careers. There's our college and careers, we have to get that in there. And it's the future of standardized testing according to the Common Core gods out there that created all this. There's two consortium groups, they call it. One's called Smarter Balance. Some states are using that. The New York State is looking to move forward with this PARCC exams. It was supposed to actually be next school year, but they pushed it back a year, and I'll get to a little bit about why that's going to happen. But 22 states right now are part of the PARCC consortium, and a couple more have dropped out along the way when they've heard some of the details. And there's a few schools that actually were piloting it recently, and it's the craziness that's going on. So basically what these are going to do is replace our current state assessment system in the 2015-16 school year. Our current state assessments, we know they're created by Pearson, the 3 through 8 assessments. That's been going on now for a couple of years, and the last 2 springs have been disastrous. 2 years ago, we know about the pineapple and the hare story on the 8th grade ELA exam, which was this unbelievably farcical tale that confused many a 14-year-old 2 years ago. And last year, there were all sorts of disasters, too, as well, and problems, and I'm anticipating on Tuesday there will be as well. And ironically, the first day of the state assessments this year is April 1st. Okay, so that's for sure. The history of the state assessments for the 3 through 8, we have to do the 3 through 8 according to the No Child Left Behind federal law that's been going on for now. I think the first group of students that had it for their whole academic career graduated last year, and I call it the NCLB generation because as a middle school teacher, I saw a dramatic change as those students who had the NCLB policies came through my classroom, who had been doing it since 3rd grade. Their ability to write, their ability to critically think dropped off the map. And I see no change with the Common Core at all. It's tied to the testing. That is my firm belief. Some people say it can be separated. I believe it is tied. It's a package deal. The testing, the data that was brought up earlier, and the teacher evaluation, it all goes together. It's part of the package that the 60 or so educational experts created, when they put together the Common Core. Originally when we had the 3 through 8 testing, it was created by New York State educators who knew their grade levels, their curriculum, their topics. Were they always perfect? No, we always had little criticisms, but we can improve upon those. And as the superintendent said earlier, we could actually see those tests and talk about those tests and look at our students' answers and go, here's what we can work on and here's what we can improve. Now that Pearson's taken over, we cannot anymore. And this will actually get worse under PARCC because it's this nameless nonprofit that exists somewhere. I don't know, can we knock on their door or call them up if there's a problem? I don't think we can. And so if we have problems with this, it's even worse than having Pearson. I think Pearson's actually one of their contractors that's creating this as well. So I'm concerned about this. And this PARCC exam is going to be different. They call it the next generation of testing. It's going to be computer-based. It's going to be online. And that creates a whole array of problems. It sounds like a neat idea, but it's going to create a whole array of problems in our schools as we go along here. First of all, and I think this could be a very important consideration, Assemblyman, it's going to triple the cost for our state assessment system. It will raise the cost per student to $29.50. That's the approximate number that the PARCC people are giving right now. So that's taking away from everything we need in our classrooms. There's more money gone. as we move along. It's also going to increase the amount of testing. Third graders, 8-year-olds like my son, he's an 8-year-old in Springville Elementary, will be sitting for 8 hours of testing according to this. It's in 2 groupings too. They do what's called a performance-based test at about the 75% mark of the school year, and then they do an end-of-year test at the 90% mark. Okay, 4th and 5th graders will have 9 hours and 20 minutes, and 6th to 8th graders will have 9 hours and 30 minutes. This is for the typical student. Okay, well, because it's computer-based and they're typing some of this, anybody who's in the schools knows we get a wide array of typing abilities out there, and that's going to be well beyond that. And then let's get kids who have IEP or 504 plans where they have time and a half or double time. Those kids are going to be in there for hours, and it's a torturous situation for them. So that's the short of it. And also with the cost, and we hear Governor Cuomo with this bond issue for school technology, and I love technology as an educator and as a parent and personally, but it's not the end-all being of teaching. You know, smartboard's a great thing, but, you know, I can still do amazing things if the power's on. So here's what they're looking at for Park. The minimum number of computers, or the recommended number of computers is 1 per student for the largest grade level in a school. So this is a 6 through 8 building right here? Okay, so you would take the largest class, whichever 6, 7, and 8, and you'd have to have, so how many? 210. 210. So you would need 210 computers minimally to do this, or according to that's recommended. The minimal is 1 for every 2 students. That would mean the testing time frame would take longer. If you're a K through 8 building, which we have some in these areas too, they would need 1 per student for the 2 largest classes. Okay. And this is a very difficult thing to pull off in tight budget times. Plus we know when we buy computers, what happens in 2-3 years? They're done, right? They're old-fashioned, they don't work anymore. And I look at my school in Hamburg, and we get computers piecemeal. We'll get a set of 30 every year, well, not every year, but close to it. 30 goes in the LMC. Then we take those old computers from the LMC and we disperse them all to the teachers. And then the next year those go to the computer lab and we disperse them all. So when this Park testing goes online, they say, well, you have to do all this testing to make sure that the computers work. I have all these different types of computers that are of different ages. And anybody who knows that the summer, the first day you come back from summer vacation, teachers, what happens when you get on your computer? It's a disaster, right? The poor computer aides and the techs are running all over the place because there's all these conflicts and problems. So there's a problem right there. And just all that you have to buy to do this. And then the infrastructure. In Hamburg, where I am at, we're pretty fortunate. Well, we did a bond issue. We have now Wi-Fi in every room, and it works pretty good. Not everybody has that. And there's some rural schools that are really hurting. And when we talk about rural schools, where I am in Springville, there is a huge digital divide. We have people in the village where I live, we have access to the cable so we can get high-speed internet. The people who live outside of the village of Springville, they don't have it, or they have to use satellite or the old dial-up, and they have very little. And then there's a lot of kids where I live that don't even have a computer. So if we're going to test online, we're now taking that, we already have a problem. We know testing, we can rank schools ahead of time by wealth. We know that already. Now we can take this and divide and make it even greater. Kids who come from families without a computer or without this technology now they can't get on the computer and do these things. So it's crazy the amount of money that's going to be spent, and then also the divide that goes along with it. So the amount of increase that we're going to have to do to our schools to pay for this is insane. And we know that you just have to recycle those computers. The other problem that happens is on Tuesday when we test in these buildings, this building, the 6 through 8 building, is going to shut down completely Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday in the morning for the testing. Well, for the Park testing, we can't do that. We have to rotate kids in to wherever there's computers, computer labs, libraries, portable computers. You won't be able to have every kid test at the same time, which means basically, because you're testing at the 75% and 90% mark of the school year, for the last couple months of the school year, the computer lab and the library are shut down. They're done. So you can't bring your classes in there for research or creative projects or anything like that. It's not going to happen. So we need to put a stop to this Park testing because this is worse than already the current system that we're going to have. And I even wonder if there wouldn't be a need for librarians anymore if their, important part of the school is basically a testing room. So this is part of it too. In fact, recently, just this past week, the Gowanda schools had a Park field test. Field test is to practice and get ready. They had a crash. Everything crashed. It didn't work. And they allotted time for their ELA high school students to sit in there. They lost class time. And the state education department told them, well, try it again tomorrow, but with less kids. So they lost 2 days of class time. So that's part of it. And again, you heard the Governor Cuomo in the State of the State talking about the bond issue, money for the schools for technology. I wonder if this is part of the plan to do this with the tech upgrades. And then I'll close with, I was looking, the part examples are online and you can see them. They say that it's the next generation of testing to make our kids college and career ready. I looked at the ELA example. I'm a 7th grade teacher, so I figured I'd look at the middle school example to see if this is just this amazing test that can really help us out. And it's basically the same thing we're doing now. The first part was an ELA test. They had a reading on Amelia Earhart, and it's the same format that we use right now. It's paragraphs that are numbered, and then they had multiple choice questions to follow it up, a few short answer, and then a short response, and then an essay. Same exact thing we're doing now. The only thing different was they had a little video you could watch, which didn't work on my computer, and I tried it on the iPad and it didn't work, and then I tried it at school and it did work. So I guess it depends if you have the right plugin. So there's more problems with that. So I looked at this, and we're spending triple the cost, but we're doing the same exact thing. And this is the future of it. And then as I went along to the essay part, and I looked, they have to type in this little tiny window box that would be very annoying to me because you couldn't see more than maybe 4 sentences of what you've typed. And we know, as I said earlier, students typing. And how about 8-year-olds typing on a regular computer? I've heard already that some school districts are working on keyboarding in their primary age groups. That's a new form of test prep. Because if the kids are taking a computer test, we better make sure they can type on the computer. It's just madness. So as I look through this, and then they're even talking about putting some on tablets. I don't know how you can type on a tablet. I have an iPad, and it's nice to use, but like when I have to type something serious and get some detailed information out, I get on the desktop and type. So those are part of it too. So this can be stopped. States are pulling out of this, and I'm asking, of course, that we can get our leaders in Albany to pull out of this. It's part of the madness of the Common Core, but it's going to raise the stakes even higher as part of this. And to close, there's a couple things. If you're interested in the Common Core, I write at a website called atthechalkface.com, atthechalkface.com, and it's all one word. And there are a couple authors that you should also read. Mercedes Schneider, she is an educator from Louisiana, and Anthony Cody, he is a retired teacher from the Oakland, California area. They can debunk Bill Gates and John King and anyone else who's talking about the Common Core like that. They are brilliant people. They are incredible authors. Mercedes Schneider, her name is. If you Google Mercedes Schneider Common Core, you'll come up with her information, and also Anthony Cody. They are terrific. Thank you so much for your time today.